In a quick look back at my earlier video on the middle split, I'd like to point out that I've never done any stretching exercise in my life. My journey into learning the pancake stretch began because my girlfriend doubted that I could ever achieve such flexibility. Every time she would effortlessly glide into a stretch, she teased me, suggesting it was something I couldn't do. I decided then and there to take on the challenge, not just to prove her wrong, but also to avoid doing dishes if I couldn't complete the challenges that my girlfriend gave me. She gave me 4 challenges, and the pancake stretch was the very first exercise I chose. I thought it was the easiest one, just fold myself towards the floor. Totally manageable, or is it? Day 1, without any stretching know-how, I earnestly tried to push myself down as much as possible. However, even sitting properly on my hamstring was a challenge. I felt this invisible force pulling me backward, making any movement of my pelvis nearly impossible. This, as I later discovered, was referred to as the neutral spine position. The effort required to maintain even this stance was immense. Back then, I was blissfully unaware that my limitation stemmed from my hip and hamstring immobility. Instead, my focus was solely on pushing down, aiming to stretch lower. I began compensating by rounding my spine, thinking it would aid in my quest for flexibility. Days turned into weeks, and with each section, I inched a tad closer to the ground. Something didn't feel quite right. The movement wasn't natural, it was forced. I couldn't pivot my pelvis, and the only noticeable change was the increased curvature from my back. Eventually, I hit the plateau. Determined to find a solution, I dived into various tutorials and expert insights. It was during this exploration I stumbled upon the crux of my problem: the hip mobility. As I sat on the floor, attempting to stretch, it became clear my hips, instead of being fluid and flexible, were rigid. This inflexibility directly impacted my ability to execute the pancake stretch correctly. Without this essential hip mobility, I was unknowingly straining my spine. To enhance my hip mobility, I employed resistant band and elevate my hip during the pancake fold. But this approach seemed insufficient. Then one day, I saw this shorts.
The pancake stretch is the middle splits at the highest level anyway.
If I could do a middle split and then just fold forward, would that be my pancake? Recognizing the importance of targeting hip mobility directly, I shifted my focus to the middle split. The rationale was simple. The middle split offered a direct way to improve hip mobility. If you haven't yet watched my video on this, go check out this link. Meanwhile, my focus was to elevate my hip as much as possible and maintain a neutral spine position, which you can imagine you're straightening the back, pushing your pelvis out. Try to touch your belly towards the floor as much as possible. Time to check the progress. It was quite obvious that I could only sit on the tip of my hip, but it feels slightly better than before. The real goal was to sit on my hamstring with a neutral spine position. More work on my hip mobility was clearly needed. Slowly but surely, I began to sit correctly. My hamstrings, however, remained tight. The further I trained, the further I got confused. Yes, I'm able to get down lower and lower, but the form just looked weird compared to those people on YouTube. Then I found the key differences from this short.
This is a pancake, this is a middle split, and this is also a middle split. But do you know the difference? In a pancake, the pelvis is in the anatomical position. You're sitting, your knees are pointing upward. The main focus here are the hamstrings. In the middle split, the pelvic rotates 90 degrees forward. Your seat bones face towards the back with your knees pointing in the opposite direction. The main focus here are the adductors.
For pancake, the main focus is the hamstrings. While other quad hip mobility and the neutral spine, stretching and training the hamstring will lead to success. The way I did before is all middle split instead of a pancake. With this realization, I focus more on my hamstrings. I use weights, honed in on good mornings, and control the movement with my hamstrings. Progress was low until I adopted a new routine. Every single time I trained my pancake, I started with 10 mats underneath me. I removed them one by one, ensuring my body was prepared and warmed up at each level. If you don't have mats, pillow works too. The trick was to place my hands behind me, allowing my hamstring to do all the work without my hands supporting my body weight. This approach worked wonders, and I made rapid progress. Leg shaking was a clear sign that I was pushing hard. This strengthened my hamstrings and allows me to go down further. The pancake stretch, at its core, is an exercise that targets the flexibility of the hamstring and the mobility of the hips. When done correctly, the individual sits on their legs spread wide apart, knee forward from the hips. Attempting to bring the chest to the floor, the ultimate goal is to touch your belly to the floor with the neutral spine. It's not only help in opening up the inner thighs and hamstrings, but also promotes a healthy range of motion in the hip joint. A proper pancake stretch doesn't merely hinge at the waist or curve the back. Instead, the movement initiates from the hips, ensuring the spine remains long and protected. And my journey to achieve the pancake had 3 phases. Initially, I underestimated the challenge and practiced without understanding my body and without the knowledge about this move. Then I hit a plateau and realized the importance of hip mobility. Finally, I understood the mechanics of the move and discovered that stretching is akin to strength training. We have to target the right muscle, strengthen it in order to improve our range of motion. After 173 days of dedication, I did it.